Welcome to Chelsea Reads, where we get to live vicariously through other people's drama. Today we'll be exploring r/BestOfRedditorUpdates. Okay, so this post is titled, My 25 Female Best Friend 24 Male Proposed to Me. I'm confused and mortified. Where can we go from here? So it was originally posted to r/relationship advice. Frankly, I'm still in shock that this happened, so this might be all over the place. Bear with me, all fake names, etc., etc. Jordan and I met in university 2 years ago. We both started at the same time, and because of our ages, we were both considered mature students. So we quickly became firm friends, and we shared a dorm, and we'd joke around together about us being old enough to be considered mature in our early 20s. We weren't on the same course, but given we lived together, we would hang out pretty much all the time whenever we didn't have a lecture. We joined a bunch of societies together, went drinking every weekend together, etc., etc. It was a pretty sweet gig because it meant we were at least never alone. Obviously, we made other friends, both alone and together, but we were always each other's number one at the end of the day. At the moment, we're on spring holidays for Easter, and while we haven't hung out constantly, we decided to make plans to visit each other's hometowns because we're from very starkly different places. Today, we went to mine. Mine is a big city central. This morning we went there and we were wandering down the streets, doing some sightseeing because he's never been. There's typically a lot of street sellers here, trying to sell you everything from hot dogs to fluffy Pokemon hats. I decided I wanted to get a caricature done. I've never done one, and I thought it would be funny to get and hang over my bed when we got back for term. I asked Jordan if he wanted to get in, and he refused. No worries, so I sat down to get it done. They don't take very long, 5-10-ish minutes, so I stayed, looked straight forward at the artist the entire time. He finished the caricature. I loved it, so obviously I turned to show it properly to Jordan. When I turned, though, I literally don't even know what to say. He's down on one knee, holding up a ring box. I don't even really know what he said, if he did the whole, proposal speech thing, because I was so confused. I was barely paying attention. Remember, again, this is a super busy tourist city, so this has drawn a mini crowd now, coming over to cheer us on. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. To be honest, I thought this was some kind of odd prank type thing. We never have been, quote, prankster types or whatever, but I couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation. So I just laughed and laughed and laughed until I looked at Jordan and he looked genuinely heartbroken. So obviously I asked him something along the lines of, "You're not being serious." This is the only thing I remember him saying. He shut the box, stood up, shrugged, and said, "I guess not anymore," and walked off. This left me standing pretty awkwardly in this gathered crowd of people, a lot of whom were giving me dirty looks, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. The plan was to meet back up at a hotel that we had booked rooms next door to one another, so I figured that's where he's going and headed back that way. But he's not there, so I wait, and he still doesn't return. I text him out of concern. This was at 1:15 p.m. It's currently 6:20 p.m. as I'm writing this, just asking if he's okay. He responds with a long message back, which I would post because it's an odd read, but I won't out of respect for his privacy, but in which he basically accuses me of leading him on, asking why I didn't break up with him sooner, saying I had, quote, publicly humiliated him, and that he, quote, thought I loved him the same way, and that he felt our, quote, relationship was strong enough to consider taking the next step. Girl, you didn't even know that he thought that you guys were dating? Seems like a lot of assumptions on his part. I mean, yeah, you're living together, but you guys have separate rooms. It's so weird. Have you guys even ever kissed or anything? So crazy. Now, this is completely out of left field. I literally have got no idea where in the world he's got this idea from. The closest we've ever physically been is a hug hello and goodbye. I've never even jokingly flirted with him. For this exact reason, I've had too many friendships collapse because they can't tell the difference between serious, interesting, and joking banter in friendships. So I've been extra careful to not. We've never kissed, never been on a date, never had esh. I do not find him physically attractive, and I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him. I don't understand where on earth he's got this idea that we are. This isn't something he's ever brought up before this, and I'm genuinely bewildered. He hasn't returned to the hotel yet. I periodically knock to check, and I've been periodically listening for him walking up the hallway or anything. Nothing. I haven't responded to his long paragraph because, honestly, I don't know how to. I'm just so stunned and taken aback that I genuinely have no idea where to go from here or what to do. I haven't told anyone I know in person yet, mostly because I don't want to bring this up to people who know Jordan. So I'm here turning to strangers on Reddit instead. What in the world do I do? And it's like the big crying, sobbing emoji. Holy moly. I do not envy this woman's position. That is so tough. It's tough because it's like her friend is obviously not who she thought that he was. Her friend has this whole other internal life in which he thinks that their relationship is really a lot more than it is. And, I'd be thinking if I were her, do I really know who this person is or anything? I mean, what else is he capable of if he has this entirely misconstrued idea for so long? I hope that he's okay, though. I mean, he's not showing up. Like, that's so nuts. So, relevant comments from the thread. Let's see if any of these are interesting. Still Can't See says, he's at an age where severe mental illness can really manifest. Reach out to his family and share your concerns. Normal, healthy-minded people do not imagine years-long romantic relationships with people. I would also avoid being alone with him until it's confirmed that his grasp on reality is not tenuous. Seriously, I was kind of worried about that too. I mean, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I was like, you got to talk to someone that you know in real life, because it is concerning. I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that he has a mental illness or anything, but it is really concerning. And if he, again, it's that whole unpredictable behavior thing. If he has this whole image in his mind and this whole made up relationship with you, what else is he capable of? That's a big concern. Original OP responds, thank you. I don't really know any of his family, but I'll see what I can do. Praying hands emoji. Clearheaded 01 says, is he religious by any chance? This could possibly explain how he could see the lack of any physical intimacy as compatible with dating. You're staying quote-unquote pure. I assume you've never dated / hooked up with anyone during your friendship with him? And then there's 3 question marks. Original OP responds, he's Catholic, but he's non-practicing. He believes in God and the Bible and such, but he doesn't go to church, and as far as I know, he isn't very strict in his beliefs. I've had hookups, but no relationships. He hasn't had any relationships, but I'm not sure about hookups. We don't even talk about Esh with each other, so to be honest, outside of the occasional he's fit I would while people watching. Yeah, it just sounds like a man who is very lonely and misguided and just misread a lot of signals and is too much up in his own head. So let's see what the update says. It was posted the next day. OP says, hey, I'm not dead. Funny OP, but yikes. I'm back at my parents' house at the moment, and I'll be staying here until school picks back up in a bit instead of traveling around. It's nice to be home anyways. Update. We're going to skip the too long didn't read because we're going to read it. Jordan did in fact not come back to the hotel. I stayed up until 1 a.m. before falling asleep, and he didn't return. When I woke up the next day, the hotel staff let me know that he had checked himself out around 6 a.m. I did end up responding to his big long text. I took everyone's advice and told him that I was sorry it didn't go as he had expected, but that I wasn't sure where he'd got the impression we were together. I said I'd be happy to sit and have a discussion about it all so we could make sure we're on the same page. He was not happy about this at all. And he again went off with a bunch of the same type of thing he'd said in his first message. It didn't really seem to be going through his head at all. Even in these new texts, he kept referring to this all as me, quote, breaking up with him, despite me explicitly telling him that we are not and never have been in a relationship. Again, all his messages were very clear and coherent, even if what he was saying was not based in reality at all. He wasn't sending paragraphs, just sentences in really quick succession, which was blowing my phone up. He told me he didn't want to meet up with me to talk because I had, quote, ripped out his heart and crushed it in public. I'll just interrupt the story just to say, I think for most people, when you're at that point where you're ready to propose to your romantic partner, you generally know that they're gonna say yes. You know, because you've either talked about it or you talked around it or whatever. I did ask him for specific instances he could recall between us that made him think we were dating, but he completely ignored the question and just kept going on and on about how hurt he was that I was, quote, breaking up with him and how he felt his world was ending. He said he loved me more than anything and had felt so confident that I had too, which is why he felt so certain about proposing to, quote, move our relationship along. Well, okay, well, I guess my little interruption shows that in his head, he was certain. Ugh. You move your relationship along by talking it out and airing out your feelings and making sure both of you are on the same page. That's how you move it forward. Eventually, to be honest, I grew pretty tired of the conversation and stopped responding because it was just going around and around in circles. Me asking where he got this idea, him ignoring this and telling me how hurt he is and I'm breaking up with him over this, etc., etc. He went on and on, saying he thought it would be a ring I like because it was my favorite gem, a ruby, instead of a diamond. Parenthesis, it's got me wondering how much he actually spent on the damn thing. I didn't look very clearly at the ring, so I couldn't tell if it was something super expensive or not. And that he had been working up the courage to do so for a while, and figured doing it when I was at home would make it more special. For a while, he was just talking to himself in my texts, because I wasn't responding anymore. When I checked back about 20 minutes later, I had something like 60 messages from him. Granted, they were all one sentences. At the very end, he apologized and told me that it didn't matter anyway because I, quote, wouldn't see him around anymore. Obviously, I was concerned, so I asked for clarification. He said that he was going to drop out of university and go back home because he, quote, couldn't deal with the shame. Oh no, that's not the right move, bro. Like, find a different roommate situation. Yeah, you've got some of the same friends, but she seems like an upstanding person to where if you asked her not to tell anyone, she wouldn't. It's embarrassing for both of you, too. I can understand, like, not wanting to live with her anymore, but dude, don't ruin your whole future, or at least the path that you have for yourself just because you made a mistake, you know? It doesn't seem like that she'll hold it against you unless you make it more of an issue than it already is. That's where our conversation ended. I didn't really know what to respond to that. As it stands now, I don't really know where Jordan is. I didn't ask him, which is my bad. I'm not sure if/when we will talk again. I'm sorry, this is quite a boring update. Unfortunately, I can't excite everyone with and then he turned up at my door, and then he sent me flowers, or whatever. It feels a lot is unanswered. I still don't know where he got the idea that we were together from. He hasn't explained that. So I'm sorry I can't give everyone that answer. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not having a mental health crisis, I don't really want to involve them unnecessarily. I don't know. I mean, I'd be worried if he's talking about like dropping out of university and like bombing his whole life. I'd be worried that he would do something to himself, and I'd want to reach out to his family just to make sure that they're aware of the situation and that they can offer some more support, because it sounds like that this guy, he lives a lot in his head and he internalizes a lot of his emotions and he doesn't verbally express them. And so you might be doing him a favor by talking to his family, at least reaching out and making them aware of the situation. Then you kind of leave the ball in everyone else's court, where it's up to his family to reach out to him, and it's up to him to express or divulge how much information he's comfortable with. But there is a second update, so let's hear about that. Update 2. So adding on, a lot of people said I should ask our mutual friends if he's ever brought this up before, ever suggested we were dating, etc. All of the people I've asked, granted it was only 5, said that they've not got a clue and he's never mentioned it before now. I don't know then if this is something that he's newly started thinking or if it's something long-term, etc. Either way, in addition, I've also screenshotted all of his texts, etc., just in case. Reading back on them, not with a slightly less confused mindset, they read pretty manic. I still haven't heard back from his mom just yet. Okay, good. So she did reach out. That's good. Oh my goodness. I just, that is such a rough situation. This one was flared as ongoing, so there could be an update in the future. I really wish the best to everybody involved. That's such a confusing position for OP, and it sounds like for Jordan too. It's never fun to have your heart broken, even if the love is unrequited, you know? And I just feel so bad for him and for OP. I'm glad that OP is at a place where she's with her own family. She's not by herself. It doesn't sound like Jordan's dangerous. Let's hope he's not. Let's hope that if he does go back home, that his family will be able to give him some good support. I hope he does stay in school and gets into a different living situation. And, you know, if the school has some therapy or counselors on campus, then maybe he can reach out to them and just get his head straighter. So let's all wish both of these people some peace of heart and mind, clarity going forward, and that hopefully they'll both be able to graduate and move on. So yeah, let's just put some good vibes out for both of them. So that was r/Best of Redditor Updates. I know it's only one story, but these ones tend to be a little bit longer. So I feel like for the Best of Redditor Updates, sometimes it's nicer just to focus on one story. That way we can really explore it in depth and take our time with it. So what do you think about today's story in the comments? Do you think that Jordan is kind of unhinged? Do you think he's just misguided? Do you think that OP is heartless for laughing in his face and not talking about it to him in person? I can understand that reaction of just kind of like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And I think everybody laughs when they get a bit uncomfortable, especially because it was just so out of the blue and she's like, are you pranking me, bro? Like, what's happening? So yeah, let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen in the future? Obviously they're not going to be living together anymore. I think that's pretty clear. I hope, what do you hope to have happen in the future? So yeah, let me know. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. Definitely an interesting story. Please give this video a little like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really hope that you guys have a great day, at least better than OP's day. Don't go proposing to your roommates unless you're already dating. And thank you so much for watching. And please remember to be kind to other people and be kind to yourself. Talk to you soon.